Jan, wonderful to see you again.
André.
This beautiful sun today in Geneva. So this is where you work, at the UNCTAD at United Nations.
Yes, the logistics of international trade logistics branch, looking at all types of technical issues from transport, trade facilitation. And we like to say we think, debate and deliver. So we think, we produce public goods, statistics, research, impact assessments for the IMO, this type of thing. We debate, we provide a forum for the member states. And last but not least, we also help them deliver, or we deliver capacity building, training, on-the-ground advisory services to implement global standards, to make trade more efficient. And a lot of this has to do with digitalization.
Digitalization. So all this happens here. It's wonderful. Well, you know, we're filming for Digital Talks for this series we're doing, and I thought it was great to be able to meet with you and talk about this together. So, shall we take a walk by the lake?
Let's go to the lake.
So, Jan, you mentioned to me several times that shipping was actually a family business, right?
Yes, I grew up son of officer of Hamburg Süd. That was the growing up, and then later on my parents started their own shipping business. And yeah, I think that combination of having worked with a real shipping company, family business, studying economics got me to my first job to the IMO, International Maritime Organization in London. And from there to Chile, covering ports and shipping in Latin America and Caribbean. And now 20 years already in Geneva. Over there, our offices with all these international organizations working on shipping in this beautiful international Geneva. How did you end up anchoring here in Geneva?
I was actually born in Geneva, and I spent most of my 40 years of professional career in trade and in shipping. And when we look at the world of shipping and logistics today, the importance of regulators and collaborating with international organizations is extremely important. And I really think that it's only by working together and collaborating that we can improve efficiencies and, of course, work on the digitalization together. From your perspective, you know, what's your feeling of the status of the international trade and logistics?
Yeah, no, it's impressive what has happened over the last little more than 2 years with this pandemic, where at the beginning we all thought trade would go down tremendously, but actually trade in goods has been going up. Because you and I, when we are in lockdown, we no longer go to the hairdresser, to the movies, to the restaurants, but we buy things, and these come in containers. No? So what has been positive, we can acknowledge during the pandemic, a lot of digital solutions have been advancing more than in 2 years, more than in the 5 years before. No? Because people in the past loved to touch paper and like all these complicated procedures, they now realize it's actually not such a bad thing to move towards electronic payment, single windows, pre-arrival processing, automation, information portals. I mean, a lot of things that we are also working on at UNCTAD. So all of a sudden, we find that solutions that digitalize trade are much more welcome than they were 2 years ago.
Of course, there's more adoption.
Much more demand for our programs. And we see now a lot of the work we have been doing. I like to say we have to lock in the progress made during lockdown. Yeah. We were on lockdown, and now let's keep that progress that we have made in digitalization.
No, absolutely. I think you're spot on.
And if we link this now to the digitalization with the container shipping, the digitalization can learn from containerization. Because the container was invented by the private sector. But it only became the beautiful, great solution that promoted trade, or the humble hero, as the economists called it, thanks to public global standards. So the ISO, the CFAC, the WCO standards type of things, they also need to help digital solutions which are driven by the private sector. But they will only really have the positive global impact once the international organizations, the ISO, CFAC, WTO, WCO, make them global, and so that also the small players, the small companies, the developing countries, the least developed, all these need to be able to adopt these new standards.
That's very important. I think we mustn't forget all these small and medium-sized companies which also need to be able to participate. How do you see digitalization helping the evolution of trade, which is, as we know, is growing exponentially, as you mentioned it? How do you see that moving in the next couple of years?
Optimization of processes is necessary. It complements the one big transition that the industry is facing, which is the energy transition. Now, we must have zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 from shipping. How do we get there? There are alternative fuels, there are new technologies, there are all types of supporting measures. Digitalization is one of them, like port call optimization is one of my favorites. We don't go fast and then we wait in the port. No, we go at the optimal speed. So a lot of benefits that digitalization can also give to this very important energy transition.
I think that's a very, obviously a very hot topic to do that. I think that as you mentioned, digitalization, simplifying the documentation processes, getting rid of paper, when we talk about e-bills and all the other related documents, just in time. A lot of these efforts that, as you know, are being promoted by associations such as DCSA, the Digital Container Shipping Association. And I think that we're really on that path, which, as you said, was really exacerbated during the pandemic.
Yeah, there's one message that we like to get across about all these digital solutions, trade facilitation, transport facilitation. I'm pretty sure you have also seen some PowerPoint, some presentation document with a balance. Somebody tells you either you facilitate trade and make it easy and digitalize, or you control. And for me, this is really the wrong picture. All the specific solutions, we have talked about this afternoon, from risk management to automation to pre-arrival processing to more transparency to single windows and so on and so forth. They all help achieve both. They make life easier for the carriers, providers and the shippers, clients, and they help the customs authorities, any customs and other border agencies. And this has improved. This has improved during the last 2-3 years, and at the same time we make processes more efficient.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think that you need to make it mandatory. But as you say, it's not a trade-off. Well, Jan, thanks so much for this the insights that you've given me, which I found extremely interesting. So I really thank you for that, and I hope we'll have the opportunity to continue this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.